Super excited for today's episode of Real Estate versus Technology, as we're going to go a little bit more into some best practices, techniques when it comes to marketing yourself online, specifically on social media, and what you're going to be doing to maximize your Instagram. The coming soon, the just sold, the just listed is so cliche. It's like, that was cool, but I don't know about in 2024, moving forward, how things are going to be shifting. Super excited for our guest today. So I totally butchered her name, and I said Tammy, but it's Tamany. I did it again. I'm just gonna roll with it with our episode. The best you can do is laugh at yourself.
Tamany.
Tamany. Oh my God. By the end of this episode, Tamany, I'm going to be over here writing it down on my tablet to make sure that I get it right. But Tamany, thanks so much for coming on today's episode. We really do appreciate it, as we do want to give back to our community as a whole in this real estate industry to help agents really just level up and have more success with their business practices, marketing online. I know before we got on the air, we talked a little bit about online and offline activities and how those really need to mesh. I think a lot of agents do the offline stuff, but they forget about the online stuff. But before we get into all the good things that we want to share with our community here, let's talk a little bit about you. Why this real estate industry, serving these agents? Were you licensed yourself? Would love to get a little bit of your backstory.
My story's so weird.
Really?
I'm actually a retired 8th grade math teacher.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, both my parents were brokers. They had the top Keller Williams in the nation for 2 years in a row. So I grew up around it. I got paid $5 an hour to put labels on postcards. We went door knocking together. I was Easter Bunny one year. So I've been around the marketing piece forever. And in 2020, my father unfortunately got ill. And so I quit my teaching job to help my mom. And I was like, what do I do with my life now? So that's how I started the Simple Touches. I got to start it with my dad, which was really special. And that's how it all started. And I actually started making logos and business cards and stuff on Canva for agents. And it's just kind of evolved over the 3 years that I've had the business into focusing mainly on social media marketing.
I love that. It's interesting. You hear a lot of stories where it's like either like your parents were involved in the business, and then of course, right, you grew up in a different era. We grew up in a different era with cell phones and cameras that are awesome and social media and all the things. And it's just like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And like, it's crazy how that evolves. But that's cool that you didn't get into the transaction side, buying, the selling and all that, and you went into a different direction to serve the agents out there and help them with what you're doing to help them have more success with their business, get themselves out there. And actually, my wife, she taught for 16 years as well. So special heart, a place in my heart for teachers out there. So that's awesome that you served and you're a teacher. So then it's just evolved. And now, how long has it been since you've been serving the industry?
It's been a little over 3 years, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, it started with just wanting to be able to go to my dad's doctor's appointments, and it's just kind of evolved into like something bigger than I could ever even imagine because of social media. And that's why I'm so passionate about social media marketing.
Cool that you wanted to serve and support and be there for your father, and then how you just followed the passion, and then I can imagine snowballed from there into what it is now. And it looks like from your Instagram and all right, we're back. Can you see me?
All yep.
Right. I don't know why, but sometimes technology, when you want it to work, it doesn't. But I'm going to put your website behind me. All the links are down below. Definitely go follow and connect, because you're doing amazing. Looking at your Instagram page, I mean, the fact that you've grown to what you've grown to 81,000 plus followers, and just your catchy taglines and what you're doing with your posts and the testimonials on here and the speaking engagements that you're doing. So has this just been something that just evolved just organically over the years?
Yeah. So it's crazy because I have a hard time envisioning what the business is going to be in like 1 year, 5 years, whatever. I just hired a coach and she's asking me these questions and I'm like, I don't know, because I could never have imagined the opportunities that have evolved because of social media. Um,
Mm,
just by getting myself out there and like what I can offer, so many things have come from it that
mhm, mhm.
if I had really stuck to this, like, I'm going to do business cards forever, it never would have made it to what it is today and what it's going to be. So,
That's amazing. I love that. And it's interesting because you have some individuals out there talking a little bit about business and mindset. They have these big like goals and they want to do all these things and then they struggle and they're trying to figure out how to get there. And I'll say also, for myself, right, 10 years into this industry for serving real estate professionals from our sponsor for Liftoff Agent, and it hasn't been as organic, and it's been a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of sacrifices and a lot of loses, a lot of loss. And so, it's definitely helped over the years, full transparency on my end, to then get to where I'm at today. And I'm very grateful for that. It's just very humbling to see the other side of the spectrum. Someone who is just following their passion, enjoying what they're doing. It's grown to where it's grown past 3 years. And now you have a coach saying like, so what is the 5-year goal, But I think that adds to your value of your brand. I think people want to help you figure it out now and
yeah.
help you get larger and help you get to the next place. So I think that could potentially be your superpower.
Yeah. Something that I did is I built my audience first. Like I had a simple offer, I built my audience, and then it was to the point where they were like, I don't know what you offer, but I want to work with you. And so then
Wow.
I put myself in a position in year 2 that I was like, okay, I need to really expand my offerings because I want to be able to serve more people. And
Wow.
so I think from a social media perspective for agents, going in there being like, I need a listing, that's not the right mindset. You need to really have your passion and your niche. I know everyone hates that word, but your passion and your niche nailed down to where you can really provide value and help those people who are like your tribe. And then that's where the naturalness, authentic growth starts to happen.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. And it's interesting too, to add to that, agents out there who's listening and viewers that are listening, you could start somewhere and be like this one way, or like to have this mindset. And then you could end up somewhere else and almost have like a different way of thinking, a different mindset. I know for me specifically in my 20s compared to where I'm at now, definitely all over the place, not as focused, not as poised, not as deliberate, and not as yeah, I guess you could say focus, deliberate, same thing. And I think that people that are out there that want to just chase the money or the next transaction, they're forgetting that it's people first. It's people first. It's serving. It's showing up. It's making sure you're happy and passionate about what you're doing, and then it'll translate and turn into additional transactions, additional families to serve, and what have you. So I just wanted to add to what you just said. I love that.
Yeah, I think the real turning point on my socials was my Canva hacks for realtors.
Mm,
And if you think about that, the purpose of those is to get agents what they want, which is more business. So if
mm,
you like flip the script and be like, okay, what can I post that's going to get my ideal client what they want?
yeah.
That's the sweet spot that you need to find.
I love that. And as you're educating, I'm sure, which I see on your Instagram, educating, supporting, entertaining, and then people are like, it's a really good book. I just finished called The 7 Triggers to Yes, that talks about if you show up for other people and you serve and you don't expect anything, you're just entertaining, educating, serving, giving free value, then those individuals will feel more like indebted by default to try to do something to like, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Or you did a really good job. Can I buy you lunch? Or what do you offer? Like, can I hire you? Like, I'm sure you've got all that.
Yeah. And
That's
it
so
like,
cool.
I'm a math person, right? So
Okay.
I always talk about social media growth. It's not linear, it's exponential. And if
Ah,
you're not sure what that means, linear is an addition pattern. So think
mm,
like 10 plus 10 plus 10 equals 30.
mm.
Exponential is a multiplication pattern. So think 10 times 10 times 10 equals 1,000. So
Ah,
that's why, like, up until around 500 followers or so, it's really slow. But then when you keep going and keep going, it just takes off. And it's pretty crazy, like, what you can do with it if you are using it as a business.
Wow, I love that. I love that. If you agree, comment below. I definitely feel that that definitely makes a whole lot of sense, and you can grow a lot quicker, a lot faster. Like, you know, also look at that as YouTube. Before you get that first 1,000 subscribers, as you're building your audience, it takes a while, and then as soon as you hit that 1,000 plus subs, I heard as soon as you get it's very hard to get to 100, and then as soon as you get past 100,000, then it's exponential growth because then you have people sharing and liking and commenting, and you have a bigger ecosystem. So if you comment down below if you agree. And I love how when you're explaining that, the tattoo came into the scene. I love you. That's
Yeah, that's my dad. His
aw.
illness unfortunately took away. He became paralyzed. So I got this
Ah.
before he lost like the movement in his hands.
Oh my God. I mean, God bless him. I can only imagine what you've faced and the things that you've gone through with him. And, you know, I'm sure he's very appreciative for his daughter. So I have a 5-year-old daughter myself, and she's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about getting into persona and a little bit more of the niche. Like you said, like, oh, when you say the niche term, agents are like, right? Because people, and you hear it all the time. A lot of agents out there, a lot of people out there are like, who do you work with? I work with anyone and everyone, like all the people. If they want to buy or sell, I want to work with them. And I'm sure you heard that. You're shaking your head like, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like, how does having a niche tie into content creation and potential lead generation on social media?
Woo!
I know it's a big question.
Okay, so there's a lot of different aspects to this. And yes, the biggest objection I get is I don't want to turn other people away that aren't like in my niche, right?
Got it.
And the thing I keep telling my clients is like, you're not turning them away. You're not working with them. This is
Mm,
purely for your marketing purposes,
got it.
because you want to know whose niche is residential?
Mm.
Zillow. And you want to know how many marketing dollars Zillow has?
It's huge.
More than you. So when you think about, I mean, there's so many people in this world, and the algorithm is really great at finding your people if you tell it who you want it to find. But if you're like,
Mm,
I work with everyone, you're just gonna get kind of like this Mod Podge of like followers who
yeah.
probably won't convert. So being able to really narrow it down, and I use the example of myself. So I think of it like a Venn diagram. I took
Okay.
my
Okay.
teaching background,
Mm,
my real estate background,
mm.
my social media background, and my creative background, and I like mushed it together to make my niche.
Ah,
And I have been really successful by combining 4 different aspects and putting it in my niche. So the more you narrow it down, if you've ever run paid ads, if you type in like the audience you want, it tells you if it's too broad or too narrow. If
yeah.
you say my niche is residential real estate, that's way too broad. You're not
Yeah.
going to be effective no matter how much you put out. It's not going to do anything for you. So for realtors, one aspect of that is going to be your location, obviously. And then another aspect could be residential, but then you have 2 more blank spots that you need to kind of fill in for you. And you want to think of your niche as your slam dunk clients, the people who are going to be easy money, super fun to work with, who you could work with all year long and not get tired of. And that's who you want to talk to in your content. And it makes content creation so much easier because you know who you're talking to. You're not talking to the whole world.
I love that. I love that. If you agree, comment below. And I think that that's so pertinent because a lot of individuals out there, they think about it and they're like, well, I work with everyone, but they don't want to go deeper. And they feel like if you do go deeper, then you can talk about the specific pain points. And one thing that we're seeing is a lot with YouTube. We're seeing a lot of agents now leveraging the power of YouTube, whether it's moving to, living in, blank, whatever. You have the Dallas, Texas guys. You have Adam Hancock, who's on our show, and he's over in Florida, the Florida Relocation Guide. And so you're seeing these individuals talking about the schools, the parks, the restaurants, the things to do within those areas. And this is like evergreen long form content, which would be and is different than say like social media or Instagram. So practical stuff you've seen. Maybe you have a client, you can give us kind of a case study, like so someone you've worked with, they work with everybody, you helped a niche down, and what was the overall outcome for someone who's listening and viewing and watching and really wants to like take this to heart and be like, all right, like give me an example.
Okay, so I have this client who's amazing. She's part of my subscription service called Social Simplicity. And when she first started, she was she is super introverted, but she was really like second guessing herself. She wasn't sure like if she wanted to be on camera, all this stuff. And we were talking and she's like, I feel like I can't do this because I'm introverted. And I said to her, I was like, why don't you make that part of your niche? Why don't you talk to other introverts in your content? Right. And so since then, she's really narrowed down on introvert like qualities and like readers, books, because she loves to read. And so she joined a book club. So she's going to that for her offline activity. She has like a library guide or something like that as her freebie download. She's making all this content around like I think her handle is the bookish realtor. So she's making content around reading.
Yeah.
And like I don't see anyone else doing that, right?
I haven't heard of it.
So, right. So I think that she just really took that to heart and she's really going, and she's also done really well with like her brand colors and her values and things like that. And I'm just really excited to see where she goes. I mean, she said, what did she tell me the other day? She said, I've tripled my email list in the past month because of social media.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. I feel like it makes a big difference when you niche down. And I did some content before about this, and it's just like, it's not so much about like, could you work with people that, you know, like and trust, and people that are pretty much kind of like almost like a mirror to you. It's kind of weird, but you attract this like almost like the same persona. And I like how she's niching down specifically in the things that she likes to do anyways. So then it's like, you don't even work. You're like, all right, I love going to the library, book clubs. This is just what I like to do. So let me just go do what I like to do anyways. And in the process, be able to network and meet people that are like me. And then, you know, whether it's education, first time home buyer, or like, hey, I'm ready to buy my first home. Like, let's make this happen. So anyone viewing and listening, is that you? It could be books, could be cars, could be anything. And you tie that in. So, you know, something to think about from today's episode is tie that into your niche. Think about what you could do to really take this and go to the next level with it. Of course, you can always hire, you can always hire her as well if you wanted to. And that's also a possibility. Links are all down below. So let's talk a little bit about the paid subscription and like how that would help someone out there if someone wanted to get into your course there.
So Social Simplicity, I have a couple different offerings, but Social Simplicity is my highest ROI program. And what we do is we do all of the scrolling, all of the content planning, all that stuff for you for the real estate content. And the benefit of that is you are not going onto Instagram or TikTok and searching realtor content or realtor ideas. Because by doing that, you're telling the algorithm that you only want to see realtor content, which is not what you want. You want your feed full of potential clients, which is local adults. Okay. So by going into the subscription and using our ideas, you're not messing with your algorithm. And then also I scroll for 5 to 10 hours every week, finding the best of the best, because that's my feed is full of realtors on purpose. I've done that on purpose. So I get to see the variety and I get to pick the best. Yep. And so you're getting content that I know is going to convert. So it saves you time, it saves your algorithm, and all you have to do is read my notes, film, post, done. We also have bi-weekly Q&A calls with me, with engagement contests, and then we get monthly training from a real estate coach as well. So it's a really fun group, and it's grown to something, like I said, I never thought it would grow to, and I love that group. They are my like babies.
Aw, I love that. You're like their mother, and you're just nurturing and serving and supporting them. It's like, all right, we got mom in the house. And so I like that.
And side note, I have a lot of retired teachers in there because I myself am a retired teacher. So you want to talk about attracting who you are.
Like attracts like. I love that. So, all right. I love that. So now one thing to take into consideration, don't follow other agents because you're just going to see all their stuff. You want to have people local. I love that. Links are down below, so you could definitely check out the course and the offer. I also like to say on a segue, something that they could do is I love like eating and food, right? So I think people out there who are viewing and listening, if they wanted to have more food or local restaurants, and they wanted to have people that are adults that wanted to buy or sell, go follow the restaurant, and then go follow the people that follow the restaurant that you also like. So then you start to follow up on their feed. They show you, you see their stuff, they see your stuff. Then you go to that restaurant you love, and they're like, "Oh my god, I saw you all the time on Instagram."
Yep. So, okay, I have two things that I thought about.
Let's
So,
go.
whenever I'm like going to an event, like an in-person speaking engagement, I will go to that organization's page and I will go follow a bunch of people who follow it for that exact reason. They're going to be like, "Oh my God, you just showed up on my Instagram and now you're here in person." They're like, "It's fate."
Yes, yes. Which in one part it can be, and another part, you know, you're also being strategic and understand how the process and the system works. And that's why people hire individuals like yourself that know the algorithm, know how it works. And that's, I agree with you 100%. You can then leverage social media after the speaking engagement on so many different facets too. Cause I feel like as soon as you go to the event, day one, you're kind of connecting. And then if it's day 2 or 3, then you start to follow. And then next thing you know, you're seeing all the people that were like just at the event. And for the first, I think for like at least a week afterwards, I remember seeing just like all the same people from the event, and then you connect with them. And then some people you go deeper with and have potentially meaningful conversations and relationships and do business with one another. Some not so much, but I think that's good for anyone who's viewing and listening out there too, to find a coach, find a mentor, find a product or a service that potentially could serve you. I think that's a really, really good idea as well. So, wow, this is good. This is a lot of good tactical stuff people could be able to take from. So let's talk a little bit about scheduling. So if someone wants to go through the process of posting on social media, we'll just focus on Instagram. Is there anything specifically as far as like stories, lives, reels, carousels? Is there a standard operating procedure that you would recommend for someone to follow that they could take today and apply to their business?
The only time and this is different for everyone, depends on your schedule, right? But the only time I like to pre-schedule stuff out is if it's like a part of a campaign, like a very strategic campaign. Like we just did a webinar, for example. We did a live into a webinar into a deal. I personally like to film and post in the moment because I feel it's more authentic.
Oh my God, yes.
I tried making content like a month in advance, and then by the time I got to the day to post it, I was like, this isn't relevant anymore. Like this doesn't, either the algorithms changed or like I don't like what I said anymore, like whatever. So that's me personally.
Okay.
If you are in a position, I know some of my clients like to get like the prompts come out on Monday, they film everything and everything's scheduled for the week. Great. I like to use Meta Business Suite for that.
Okay.
It's free and you get almost all of the features that you would if you were to post it with your phone.
Got it. Interesting. I love that. I love that. I think the biggest thing for me, content wise, YouTube, I feel like is an easier platform to batch and to be able to have content out there, especially if it's something specifically like a restaurant's not going out of business tomorrow, a community, a house build, a new build construction area. It takes time. So that's totally fine. But I'm right there with you. I like to be like in the moment, authentically posting. And then, you know, anyone who does long form on YouTube, you can cut that up, put it on social media. Super simple. That's easy peasy stuff. But yeah, I love that. I love the authenticness. I think that it makes a big difference. And then as far as like putting out content and thinking about ideas, is it just kind of like, are you looking for trending content? Is it just maybe something specific that came up for you, just to give the viewers and listeners some practical things to think about, maybe that they can apply to their business?
The main thing that I stress is you need to remember who you're creating the content for. So like the thing that drives me nuts is a lot of agents who are like, okay, I need to get something out. And so they'll go and like find something and recreate it. And it's like realtor problems. And that is speaking to other realtors because that's who can relate to that.
Yes.
So I post about realtor problems because my audience is realtors. So realtors should be posting about their niche's problems to relate with them. So that's the thing, is like, you need to really kind of twist your thinking into their point of view and make content from that angle. As far as like trending and everything else, it's a mix, right? Like, you want some trending, you want some educational, you want some inspirational, you want some promotional. You have to ask for the business, but I always say, like, the content that's asking for business is not going to go viral, but you can uplift the reach of it by creating the reach within these other pieces of content that are more funny or more educational and valuable. And so by those having more reach, you are like bringing the promotional content up with it.
Interesting. That is very profound. Now, just analyzing as you're speaking about some best practices and techniques and what you recommend doing, there is not a lot of agents out there. And I follow a lot of agents in between Real Estate First Technology, Liftoff Agent, and also my personal Instagram. I attract a lot of agents by default, just like you. And I don't see a lot of agents putting out content. It's more just kind of generic, whether it's like market stats, or it's coming soon, just sold, just listed, or it's a video walkthrough tour, or it's a story about a client. Like, they don't go deeper in that niche. I like how you said, like, go deeper, relate to those people that are going through the things that they're going through. I really feel that, like, we're at the, we're new year, right? 2024. We're at the beginning stages of agents transitioning, which this has been a long time. I mean, 3 years for you, 10 years for me. Like, I've been telling agents 10 years ago, like, Google search yourself, see what's going on. And they're like, oh my God, on social media, other agents are going to see what I'm doing. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. I feel like agents eventually will get it, but I feel like we're going to still see, because if you look at that top 10% that does 90% of the business, they get it. The rest are just kind of like they're like trying to swim and they can't swim. They're like trying to figure it out. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the sold, just listed market updates, that worked 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, there's people who are realizing the shift that's happening to more of like a personal brand, video content type account versus I always get a lot of like, can you manage my account? And I tell them I've discontinued my social media management services because it doesn't work anymore, because I don't have your face. No, I don't have your face. I can't film the content for you. Like, if you don't show up on your page, it's not going to do anything, because people need to feel like they know you and like you and trust you. And the way we do that, there's so much psychology and statistics and research around the human face.
Yes.
So that's where the prompts came in. It's like, I can help you to a point, but you actually have to get your face in there to move that needle, right?
I love that. And just for full transparency, if you're going to hire anyone, someone who's going to look out for you first and not just take your money because they know they can do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's not going to make sense for you in the long run. And even though I can do it and you would be happy, it's not doing you a service. So I love that you're being transparent with that. And I feel like instead of coming soon, just sold, just listed, bring in the videographer or film yourself, bring in the buyer, bring in the seller, see if you can get the okay, and tell the story. It's like, if I'm going to be buying a house, I want to know about the house and what the previous owners did, whether it's upgrades or what they did to change this, how long they lived in it, and get all that information. And I want the human touch and the human perspective. So then I could make more of an educated buying decision. Like, my wife and I bought this house sight unseen, moving from California to Arizona outside of Scottsdale. And so we didn't know who owned it before. It was just some company. But I feel like that would be a good alternative solution for someone who's doing coming soon, just sold, just listed. But I loved your transparency on that. That's awesome.
I love Canva. Everyone knows I love Canva. But if you are paying someone to make Canva graphics for you Monday through Friday, you are wasting your money. And you should take that money and put it into, like you said, a videographer. Even if it's just one reel a week, that's going to be a better use of your money than these Canva graphics. And then we do also have a luxury service where you can fly to Dallas and I will create all your social content for a year.
Wow.
And it's a really cool offer. So
that's freaking awesome. And to be able to fly out and to have that personal touch and to be able to work with you personally and have a videographer and the whole nine, that's super awesome. I agree with you. Yeah. On the Liftoff Agent side that sponsors the show, we tell them to batch the content. It's more so YouTube, and then we cut it up and put it onto the social. But even the coming soon, just listed, which we still put out there, we're shifting that because it definitely does not make sense in 2024, and it is way outdated for sure. So as we come closer to the end of the show now, we'll love to anything that you would like to give to our audience to be able to apply to their business. Now, I highly recommend go back through, take notes, rewatch what we just talked about. I feel like just in this episode of 30 minutes, there's a lot that individuals can take from today's podcast episode. But what would you like to leave our viewers and listeners as we close out the show that they potentially can apply to their business today?
So this is something that we were talking about actually about this episode. You said, I can invite you as a collaborator on these reels, or I can tag you, whichever you prefer, right? Yeah. And I said, heck yeah, invite me as a collaborator. And I think the collaboration feature on Instagram is the best thing that's happened in the past like 3 years. Amen. Because as soon as you collaborate with another account and they accept it, your audience has now doubled. So what I like to tell agents to do, like if this is the one thing you take from this show, listen up, is you want to go to local small businesses, make a reel, hyping them up. It could be about your like customer experience there. You could be like, educational and like explain like the history of it, whatever. And you're going to post it and you're going to invite their account as a collaborator. They could say no. And if they do, it just defaults to a tag, no harm done. But if they say yes, your face is now on their account and you've doubled your audience. And you want to do this with businesses that have the same target audience. So you don't want to do it with other realtors because that's your competition. You want to do it with other local businesses because you both have the same target audience, which is local adults. And I have been really leaning into collaborations with other coaches, with other realtors, with other whatever, because it's more exposure for me. So why the heck not?
Wow. That is awesome. I love that. I love that. I love that. I think that's huge. And to add to that, make sure that the business has an Instagram that you could collab with too, because some of these business owners, I swear, I'm like, you don't have social media? Like you're not sharing what's going on here? What's going on? Like, we're like 2024. But let's try this again. So Tamany,
good job.
Yes. I was literally like having a little anxiety because I was like repeating it in my head, but being present to the conversation. And I wanted to make sure that I got it down because that's one thing that is not my strong suit. Before we got on air, I was saying that and I was like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. But thanks so much for being on the show. This was absolutely phenomenal. I know we first started off, we're kind of like thinking about what we're going to put out and how this is going to roll out, but I like it to be organic as well. So I'm kind of glad that we just rolled with it and it just unfolded into this beautiful flower. No point intended with the flowers behind you.
Also, I always like to make a point of this. This happened because of Instagram. You found me on Instagram and reached out on Instagram. And that's happening more and more versus cold emailing or cold calling. It's these direct messages on social media platforms.
Yep.
Connecting people in the same industries.
And Tamany and I also, this is the first time I've ever met. So who was out there thinking that like, you know, we're BFFs or something like that. And I'm going out and having coffee with her and text. No, like it's the first time we ever met. I literally was checking out your social media because our team also does outreach and looks for individuals that we can have on the show to add more value to this community. And who knows, maybe there's collaboration opportunities after the show as well. So we'll have to dive into that too. But thanks again for being on the show. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Of course. And thanks to all our viewers and listeners. So go follow Tamany. Everything's down below. Give her a follow. Check her out. Check out her offer. Let them know that you've seen the episode, Real Estate versus Technology. And it is our intention for you to take things from our episodes to apply to your business, have more massive success. So if you haven't done so, subscribe, like, notification bell. New videos come out or episodes come out every single Friday at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And we'll see you all on the next one.